I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we observe our moment of silence, I would like to remind everyone today is Flag Day, so as we did the pledge today, be mindful of what that flag actually means. And it's also the birthday of the United States Army, so and now take a few moments of silence. Thank you. Roll call, beginning with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
I'm here. Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Smith. Commissioner Stieben.
Here.
Commissioner Culbertson.
Here.
We are all present and accounted for. All right. I don't believe we have anyone who has signed up for public comment today, so we'll move on to...
Mrs. Chairman, I'd like to recognize the Mayor of Tonganoxie here today.
Okay.
David
Hello,
Priest.
Mayor. Welcome. We will begin our administrative business. I'll start with a proclamation. It's a proclamation for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day for June 15, 2023. To all citizens of Leavenworth County, greetings. Whereas June 15th is recognized internationally as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and its recognition will promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. And whereas as our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a nation. And whereas ageism and social isolation are major causers of elder abuse in the United States, and whereas recognizing that it is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so people can retain community and social connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse, and whereas preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving social supports like senior centers, human services, and transportation will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. Now, therefore, I, Vicki Cos, Chairperson, Board of County Commissioners of Leavenworth County, at the request of the Leavenworth County Council on Agency, do hereby proclaim June 15, 2023 as World Elder Abuse Day in Leavenworth County and urge all residents to recognize and celebrate older adults and their ongoing contributions to the success and vitality of our community. Dated this day of June 14, 2023. Thank you. Connie, would you like to say a few words? And I think that probably Stephanie's here to take a picture.
Yes, and just to add that tomorrow, in recognition of this day, we'll be having a panel discussion with 4 experts from the Sheriff's Department, from the Guidance Center, Kansas Legal Services, as well as St. John's Hospital to talk about this, and there will also be brunch. So if you're not doing anything around 11 o'clock tomorrow, please stop by and help us recognize this important day. Thank you.
Thank you.
You all want to go have to step down real quick so that...
Put your best face on.
Yeah, you better get that.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You might want to introduce our new... just real quick.
And Commissioner Cos asked that I introduce my friend with me today. This is Michael Vanderhaar. He's a new hire at the Council on Aging. He works in our Human Services Department and Information and Assistance, and we're really lucky to have Michael. He's got a long history of public service and city work in the state of Minnesota.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Mr. Lothry, do you have anything for administrative business?
I don't have anything specifically. Last week,
discussion, the board had asked for information about traffic counts on George Road. I had provided that earlier in the meeting, so that's really all I had.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I know we got a lot to do today. I was just wanting to get everybody's takeaway from the meeting we attended a week ago Monday with Senator Tyson. I know we can't talk about it amongst ourselves, so I thought this would be a good time to let everybody glean from that meeting.
I had a note here I was going to bring up, continued confusion over disabled veterans. Because there's continued confusion, because I believe we've tried to make it very clear that the membership, we support disabled veterans using the homestead mechanism to fund it. We do not support disabling the property tax system of Leavenworth County. And it would be devastating to the county.
It would be. And you're right. And there is a lot of confusion. Because I thought I knew a lot of everything I needed to know about it, but when Senator Tyson brought up that bill didn't make it until after turnaround, there must have been some problems getting it through the House.
So I met with Pat yesterday, and we discussed one of the things we talked about was that particular veterans bill, and I tried to convey to him the problem the county commission has with it is not that it's for veterans at all. There's basically 33,000 taxpayers in the county. There's about 3,000 disabled veterans. If we give the 3,000 disabled veterans this break, we're going to raise the taxes on the other 30,000 people. That's all there is to it. Now, one of the original presentations was going to allow the state to pay it through the Homestead Act. We said, we don't have a problem with it if you do that and you're not raising the taxes on the other 30,000 people. That's still, I think, in the process. When this shows up again in the next session, that might be one of the options that they use. And I told them if it was under the homestead, then we don't have a problem with it. Our problem is raising taxes on everybody that's not a disabled veteran.
Well, it depends on how the law is written under the homestead. We've got to make sure that it doesn't ever just become an unfunded mandate and shift it back to the county.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It would have to be funded totally by the state, and then if
stay that way.
Refuse to fund it, then it would go away.
Yeah, because it's got to stay that way.
It's got to stay that way.
Otherwise, you're raising taxes on everybody else.
Our list is getting too big of unfunded mandates.
So we were trying to come to some kind of compromise. I don't know if we gained any ground or not, but that's what I laid out to him.
And under the homestead, it would be income limits and property value limits, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed, I think several of you met him, but Jay Hall and Bruce were there from the Kansas County Commissioners Association.
Yes.
And they were specifically addressing LAVTR and I think some of our legislators are coming around on that, but the other thing they're saying, the veterans, disabled veterans, is like waving the American flag or motherhood, voting against motherhood. But really, the devil's in the details. And it's like the state giving a benefit, but they're going to use the local government's money.
Yeah, to fund it.
And
the local people will subsidize it.
Because it's not a tax break, it's a shift of taxes to the other citizens of the counties.
Well, when you have that kind of surplus that we've been saying, and I know you can say, well, we got to fund that. The program, Homestead or whatever, the programs be run out of state. We shouldn't even be dealing with it. Because when we start dealing with it, then there's an opportunity, as Doug was saying, that money could disappear again, and then we get stuck with it like we're dealing with now with some other issues.
We've been here too long. We've seen it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And none of it ever comes back.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I think we've kind
I
of...
I just wanted to make sure, because it's being transparent, I don't want everybody to think we talked about this meeting
No, we haven't.
outside of our open meeting.
No, we have not.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Commissioner Stephen?
you all saw the results. Last week when we discussed George Road, we talked about what the previous traffic had been, about 110 cars a day on George Road, and we did get the traffic counts back. And there was 2 locations they took the counts. You can see where they place the dots, one near the curb and one up the top. 1,990 cars at one location and 1,926 cars at another location. The letter that we had previously sent in October indicated that there was like 3,500 cars on the K-16. So if this is accurate, 60% of the traffic that was on the highway is now routing down George Road. And so I think at another meeting we need to talk about.
Before we get to that, we also need to talk about what the average speed limit was on that road, because that was also presented.
Yes, at location A it was 25, and location B it's 22
miles per hour
So-
was the average, just so that we have.
And bear in mind that is the average speed. So during the week, you all have a copy of this, I asked our attorney, one of our attorneys, Misty, to give us an opinion, because we had discussed whether it was legal to lower the speed without doing a traffic study. And if you'll notice on response number 4 on page 2, I ask, is a traffic study required to post lower speed or on an emergency basis? And KSA 8156 or 1560H allows the county to post speed limits without an engineering and traffic study. However, the county resolution 1998-26 requires a traffic engineering study prior to placing speed limit signs on a roadway. As noted above, it appears that the intent of Resolution 1998 was to establish a uniform speed on non-hard surface roads and require a traffic study to post signs on the roadways. There is no provision in the resolution for a temporary reduction in speed or on an emergency basis to change the speed limit. Should the BOCC determine that they wish to post roads at lower speeds without traffic study, in certain circumstances, I recommend amending Resolution 1998-26 to reflect that policy decision. So if you look on the front of this, and I worked with Misty to work on the language of this, and I'm recommending this resolution that would actually limit the speed to 25. And would you like me to read it?
No, but I think that probably what we need to do is get this set to put on the agenda for next week.
Well, I'm going to be
appreciate that.
gone next week, and I think there's going to be commissioners out the following week as well.
Correct, but I'll phone in.
And when we talked last week, we were saying that because of the conditions there, we needed to have the data. Now we have the data. So I think because of the situation with traffic, I'm continuing to get letters about near misses and the dangerous conditions on the road. I'd like to offer a motion that we pass this resolution.
Well, if you're going to offer the motion, I will, before we discuss it any further, I will entertain a second. If we have a second, we can continue to discuss. But no, let's
whatever.
let's go ahead. And
I'm against anything that's not on the agenda.
Well, we had, if I could read the comments in the paper were that we were going to revisit this after we had the data.
Right.
So that was the.
I'll make a second for discussion. Let me, if I can ask a question over that direction. Is this a temporary 25?
Yeah.
Will it go back to 35? I skimmed through it early this morning. But
Yeah, it would be. I won't read the whole thing, but so just to get it, so we're doing this proproperly.
I'm sure is that right?
I'd like to make a motion that we pass the resolution. I'd like to read it, and then he can second it. Then we can discuss it. Would that be okay?
That's fine. I would actually prefer that we have this set on an agenda so that we can have, I am not comfortable, I can tell you that I'm not comfortable with adopting a resolution that I haven't had the opportunity to read it, to get opinions regarding.
But we're going to continue to allow the traffic on that road to be.
Well, but the traffic has been allowed on that road for 2 weeks now, and so I'm giving my personal opinion, but you can go ahead if that's what you want to do. You can read it.
Well,
you can say it.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it needs to be on the agenda.
Well,
because in 1982, the county had 40-mile-an-hour speed limits on all gravel roads. Guess what? They all had to come down because of a legal issue.
Well, like I said, I
They put
addressed
them up
this
and they
with
all
our
had to
attorney.
come
Our
down.
attorney's issued an opinion that this is okay.
Well,
I worked with during this week after we had our discussion last week. I worked on this issue and came up
And I
to
respect
a
that.
conclusion. And I don't know if we say my opinion was after the discussion last week that we were waiting on the results of the traffic count. That is what we were waiting on. So whether there's a oversight in not, specifically putting it on the agenda, quote unquote, this was a live issue last week, and the reason we didn't act was because we needed to get data. Now we have the data, 1,900 cars on the road. It's time to act.
Okay, but as I recall, you had a motion that died with the lack of second.
Well, that was to close the road temporarily, and this
so
is this is to lower the speed.
I would
So-
like to see a briefing report from staff.
Well, you've got a copy of
This is
the.
not a briefing report.
Well, this is a legal opinion, and that's not what I requested for. So I'm going to offer a motion, a resolution to amend Leavenworth County Resolution 1926 to allow for temporary adjustment to speed limits and signage on Leavenworth County roadways. Whereas from time to time it may be necessary to adjust traffic speed and signage on Leavenworth County roads on a temporary basis during road construction and road projects to protect the safety of the traveling public and pedestrians on county roads, now therefore be it resolved. 1. New Section 4 shall be established under the resolved statement of the Leavenworth County Resolution 1928-26. 4. In special circumstances or during road construction projects, county, state, or local, during which such construction work or projects impacts or potentially impacts the safety of the traveling public or pedestrians using Leavenworth County roadways, temporary speed limits and signage may be established without the need for a traffic study to respond to safety issues in a timely manner. The Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners may act to establish such temporary speed limits and signage. 2. A new Section 5 shall be established under the resolved statement of the Leavenworth County Resolution 1998-26. 5. Speed limits on the following connecting roads and routes near KDOT K16 projects shall be immediately reduced to 25 mile an hour, and the Public Works Department shall cause signage to be displayed at each intersection to each road and route as much as is practicable on the following connecting roads and routes: George Road, Hagewood Road, Hatchell Road, 242nd Street, 235th Street, 239th Street, 243rd Street, 250th Street, 251st Street, 252nd Street, and Kansas Avenue. In addition, the Public Works Department is empowered to place additional signage on other nearby roads as safety conditions dictate during the duration of the KDOT K16 project. 3. A new Section 6 shall be established under the resolved statement of the Leavenworth County Resolution 1998-26 upon certification by the county administrator in consultation with the Public Works Department that all work on KDOT K16 project has been completed. The Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners may act to rescind the temporary speed limits and signage. And that's my motion.
I second it. I got a question, though, David. You've reviewed all this, too, and Misty has reviewed all this.
Commissioner, I'm sorry. I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Put that mic a little further close to me. Everybody's reviewed it as far as a legal thing. I certainly don't like to have things done at the last minute. I've been around too long and know things can come back and bite you. But I am concerned about that road and the people we did have in here. And this is a temporary order. Is that correct?
It purports to be a temporary order.
So once the construction is done, it resorts back, or do we have to come back before this board? Should it pass, do we have to come back to this board to have it?
As my understanding, you would have to rehear the matter.
Okay, thank you.
What we haven't done is we haven't, I'm sorry, but we have not changed policy. We have not taken the proper steps to rescind an existing policy and resolution. We have not done any of the steps that are necessary. And I could be wrong, and I would like to hear something from our Public Works also, because
I can tell you, in my experience, you do not set a speed limit unless you do a traffic study.
That's what that's why I said that I'm not comfortable with that.
That is not the legal opinion that we got. Okay. I mean, you can read it. It's right in front of you.
I read it.
And this is a safety issue. There are near misses going on all the time on that road. We have 1,900 cars on a road that used to have 110.
Well, there was an accident on my road Saturday night, and I have more traffic on my road than K16 does.
Well,
and I don't know if we need.
Obviously, that's a separate issue.
Let's have.
Just do the vote.
I believe that I see
Mr.
that.
Knoll was going to speak.
And Mr. Harris.
First of all, you need to get here from legal counsel.
Madam Chairman, members of the Commission, if I could, Ms. Brown's opinion is correct. I would point out to you a factual observation at first. Reducing the speed on a road will not reduce the volume of traffic on the road. Speed does not control volume. Particularly in this case, George Road evidently is a preferred route of detour due to the K16 project. Secondly, the speed limit observations that were recited would indicate that the average speeds at both points were below 25 miles per hour. That's just a factual observation, but it leads into this legal observation. There is no legal definition in the statutes as to what constitutes a traffic study. Currently, the county has been using Olson Engineering to conduct formal engineering-based traffic studies, and you avail yourselves to their services from time to time. However, there's no statute or no statutory definition that you can follow on that. However, there is the general rule that your decisions cannot be arbitrary and capricious. They must be based on a rational basis. And in this case, the rational basis is some engineering opinion. And with no offense meant, not your observations. I'm not qualified to give an engineering opinion, and quite frankly, neither are you. So before you set a speed limit, before you consider changing signage on roads, you should consult with your Public Works Department, engineering services that are available to you. These are public roads. The public has a right to travel on these roads. Before you change things, the public should be given awareness and forewarning as to those changes. But based on the factual observations I recited earlier and the admonition that you have to have a rational basis, and I'll call it an engineering opinion, not necessarily a traffic study conducted by Olson, but an engineering opinion before you change these things, I would suggest that you carefully consider this motion.
And I would just kind of add in that I understand that people are, but the people are observing speed limits, saying, and there's increased traffic, and I understand that as well, but we have no control over individual drivers and how they drive. And so we could say we're going to reduce the speed limit on every one of these roads. That does not mean that a single person is going to observe that speed limit and that they are not going to make their own personal decision to ignore. That happens all the time. I get passed by people on the street that are going like bat out of hell, heading down the highway or even on a city street. And it is what it is. That's individuals' decisions not to respect the law and not to respect their fellow citizens. And there's nothing in the world that we can legislate or do to change that. That's just my opinion, but I certainly don't want to make any kind of changes without a careful examination and study of the ramifications and the consequences of doing so. And I think that Bill said he had something.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to make a couple of comments on this. One, you know me, I don't like to do anything that's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
And especially not a resolution that is in fact law. You are
right.
Implementing local law when you adopt a resolution. So I prefer those always be on the agenda. Just that's always my canned statement. I prefer it be on the agenda. Number two, what you're really trying to establish is a policy on how we should handle closed roads. When you only make a policy for a very specific item, it's usually bad policy. If you want to set a policy, it should be that when we close a road and traffic increases on this sub-roads around it, that then we are going to do this. When this happens, we're going to do this, regardless of where it occurs, regardless of the road. That's what a policy really should be That's what I would prefer is that we have a chance to draft a policy. I can understand that the traffic has increased on George Road, and the average speed is around 22 to 23 miles an hour. So re-signing it is not going to help. It's already at that traffic speed. But you're taking data from George Road, which is 1900, huge increase, nearly a 20 times increase over what it was before this project. And you're extrapolating that out to roads that we don't have traffic counts on. We don't know if there's actually an impact on those roads or what it is. And you're putting policy onto those roads as well. So I have a concern with that. You have a resolution that states before you change the speed limit on any road, you will do a traffic study. That's the resolution in place. So to me, before you do what you're proposing, and I know it says it's temporary, resolution is a resolution. You adopt a resolution and then you have to repeal the resolution. You can't have a resolution that's only temporary. That's that. So you have to repeal the current resolution and adopt a new resolution.
That is not the opinion that I received from the attorney.
I think what you are failing to allow for is that what your attorney told you is you can do what you're proposing.
Doesn't mean you should.
She didn't say that you should do what you're proposing. And so, I think if you want to use that legal opinion, you should have the person who gave that opinion in here to.
Well, I'm more than happy to have
better
that
explain.
person in.
But that also needs to go.
This is what happens when things come up last minute.
Okay, can I have a moment to address a couple things? Would that be okay?
Well,
You want,
Yeah.
and Bill is also here. He can talk about this as
Well,
well. Did you want his?
First of all, the deputy that was here last week said that whatever speed sign we place, they will enforce the law out there. Secondly, I'm getting lots of calls asking that we do something about the speed on the roads. So this is not just out of the blue. Third, I asked for a legal opinion from the attorney. The attorney gave me an opinion that we can act. So we have the ability to act here today. If we refuse to act, you are abdicating your responsibility to protect the safety of the folks out in that area. And you may disagree. I disagree with you because the whole purpose of this is to just get the speed down out on those roads, and that is what the citizens are asking for. What is the problem here?
the problem is reacting rather than making a sound decision based on fact and not on opinion. And what I am trying to say, Mike, is that, first of all, we didn't have an opportunity as a board to look at this, to ask the same questions that you may or may not have asked. We were not granted that opportunity. We were not granted the level of respect of getting this several days.
And I asked that the legal opinion be circulated to all the members several days ago.
It did not happen.
That is not my fault.
But it is your fault that you took upon yourself to craft something and not
Absolutely, because we're trying to
let us have the opportunity to review it before you've asked us to vote on it.
You're making it a much larger issue than it should be. We're lowering the speeds near this work project. We're having a lot of near misses. We're having a lot of problems out in the area. I live in the area. I can tell you we need to get the speed down. That's all this is about.
The speed is down and people are
still speeding. That is an average speed. That means and one of the averages was 25.
Do you not think that people ignore the speed limit every day on every other road that they travel? That's my point, is that is not necessarily going to fix anything. Changing something.
Slowing people down is going to enhance safety.
Bill, you had something you wanted to say.
Your turn.
So I was just going to add to the conversation that the Public Works Department has not seen or reviewed that resolution. So I have no knowledge and no information to provide you here today in regards to that. So if you're looking for an opinion from us, I would refer back to the Kansas Association of Counties engineer Keith Browning, who recently published an article in the Kansas Association of Counties County Comment regarding speed limits just this last month, and had previously posted another one in July of 2022 that I had read, just recently as this discussion had evolved. I think that to Mr. Lawfrey's point and to the discussion to add to it, that his article stated more or less the same opinion that was given, but it was stated that the question of you need to have data in place to back this up, or you need to have a rationale, and you need to have that documented in order to post speed limits. Now, what the statute does allow for the lowering of speed limits and the posting of speed limits without a traffic study, as was stated in the legal opinion. And but it goes on further to state that it's kind of contradictory in the fact that you do need to at least do some sort of 85th percentile or some sort of evaluation of traffic and have a rationale based on that for any future issues that may arise from accidents or litigation. So to that point, that's all I had. Is I have not reviewed that to see which roads are included, if they're just the ones of the unofficial detour or the temporary basis of this, but I just wanted to, that's my little bit of comment here today.
And the rationale is safety. If you have any rationale, safety is the rationale.
So if you use the 85th percentile, you could actually raise the speed limit.
Yes, the findings of the 85th percentile, it could increase speed limits because your 85th percentile may come out, in an average speed limit of 22. That road is posted at 30. It could come back and say that the road should be posted at 35 miles an hour. And so the 85th percentiles don't always lower speed limits. In some cases, they would actually increase the speed limit.
Bill, does the quality of the road and the curvage and all the other things come into play too when they look for warrants to decide what the speed limit on a road is?
Yes, line of sight driveways can come into. It depends on what level of study you do. So like when we were discussing the 222nd Street and Kansas Avenue, we were doing a comprehensive traffic analysis of the roadway that would include the 85th percentile and also line of sight at driveways and entrance points, because when you're doing a design speed for a roadway, you would look at the line of sight that is available in the existing conditions of the road. So you would look at the topography, you would look at the 2-foot contours, you'd build that in a base model in AutoCAD, and you'd look at the line of sight at your intersection points, which would be all your driveways. So that's why it's a comprehensive study. If we were to do a comprehensive study just for that one area that we're talking about, I anticipated a 45-day return window on that from Olson. I checked in on that just this last week and was given about 30 additional days before they have the full report back to us for the Tonganoxie area.
And when is this going to be completed, this project?
90 days.
Is it 90 days?
Yeah, that's what they have said.
October 15th is the contractual obligation of the contractor.
But it's just for me, it's that we have an existing resolution. We have not rescinded that resolution. We also, and which makes a requirement that goes above and beyond. We can make rules and we can create resolutions and laws and opt for things that are more strict than what is required by the state of Kansas, not less. And so this resolution, even in the opinion that you gave, would indicate to me that we have something in place that is more stringent. And so what we have, there is a process that needs to happen, and I don't want to get in the habit of making decisions before we go through the process that is supposed to take place in order to make these types of changes.
And I don't want to get in that habit either, but we have a circumstance here that is involving road safety. We have a road that's changed conditions from 110 cars to 1,900 cars in just a few short days. We're going to have an accident out there, and we need to slow people down. This is an emergency basis, temporary, and this I ran it through the attorney, through the process. You can put it on the agenda to have it all rewritten and put into pretty policy. That would be great. I'm for that. But this is a temporary measure so that we can slow traffic down out in that location.
But you're also including streets that we have no idea whether or not
those are the connecting streets.
But we can't. Then we're going to have to go to every time we have a road that we are improving or that the state is improving. we're going to have to turn around and do the exact same thing over and over and over again, whether it's necessary or not. And that's what I'm saying. We need
Not
to
if we
think
develop
this,
a policy.
if we think
I mean,
whether it's necessary. And
This is necessary for the safety of these
Your opinion.
roads.
You left
And I-
out
Definitely, in my
207th
opinion.
Street and Dempsey. That's got an increase in traffic because of this.
And if you look at the resolution, it gives the Public Works, if that is the case, they have the right to sign that road.
Well, I just think we can. Misty, you
So-
had something. You came in and you had something. I think maybe you wanted to say.
Well, Commissioners, I came in because I'm hearing my name and my opinion being talked about, so I thought, I should be here. The policies usually, I watch this at my desk. But, just looking at this, what the opinion states, I was asked to answer 4 questions, and the opinion doesn't go into the policy decisions that you'd be voting on today. The question was, can you add additional 35-mile-per-hour signage on a road if it's already been signed? And I said, yes, you can do that. The next question was, can the Public Works Director just go out and add additional signage and reduce the signs on a road at his own discretion, or just add additional signs? And that answer is no, because it's my understanding that he was given direction that requests for signage needs to come in front of the Board of County Commissioners. The third question is, what's the lowest speed limit allowed by law? I said 20. And then the final question, which is what we're basically discussing here today, is do you need a traffic study to post a road at a lower speed on an emergency basis? And I pointed out that statute does allow the commission to do some signage without a traffic study, and that our existing local policy requires a traffic study, and that the 1998 resolution does not have any provision in there for a temporary or emergency basis. And if the policy decision is to create that, I would recommend to amend that resolution so that we're consistent and we're not acting outside of the voted policy. So that's the extent of my legal opinion. I have not opined on should you or should you not, because that's not my role. That's the commission's role.
So I'm bringing this up representing my constituents in my district that would like to have the speeds lowered. I've had farmers calling me saying, in just a little while, the fair's going to be here, and we're going to be having equipment out on the roads. We need to slow people down, and this would do it on a temporary basis. And if you want to craft a formal policy that addresses down the road, let's do that. If this gets voted down, I would like to see it put on the agenda for next week. But I would definitely like us to move forward with this on a temporary emergency basis.
Well, do we have any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Yes.
No?
No.
Yes.
Welcome, Jeff.
So I was going to say, the speed limits that you've already got from the sheriff doing the study that we did are already 20 and 22 miles an hour.
That's the average speed. We're getting people. I'm getting reports a lot faster.
Yeah.
But the sheriff doesn't have that.
I got to say no, but I'd like to see it put on the agenda next week.
Yes, on the agenda, so we have time to look into this and to figure out how to do it correctly.
Now you're going to make me call in from vacation.
Well, I've done that
Don't
before.
start to tear up here.
I've done that on myself.
Okay. Good discussion.
All right.
40 minutes of our life.
Okay, well, no, that's necessary discussions. Thank you.
Commissioners, I will draft the appropriate policy. I will have legal staff draft the appropriate resolution to accomplish what was debated here today so that you may consider it on next week.
I'd like to also have a briefing report, what this is all going to cost, signage. This is not a budgeted item.
Right.
You ready for the consent agenda?
Yes, I'm ready
Been
for the
ready.
consent agenda.
Madam
If any
Chair.
needs to be removed first. If not,
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented. I'd also like to point out that this includes the letter to approve support for Midco broadband internet. I get lots of phone calls about people wanting to know when the county is going to get rural internet to their house. Rural internet is a utility, just like gas, electric, water, phone. So the county is not in the utility business. But unlike the federal government, who makes it a habit to compete with local businesses, the county does not do that. So, that being said, we are doing everything we can to help get rural internet as fast as we can through the proper procedures.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Okay. Carries. Formal board action. Did you have something?
No, I just was going to comment on the broadband and internet. It's just, if it wasn't for all the federal money that was being pumped into this, it wouldn't be happening.
That's true.
So, I mean, I think the pandemic sped this up.
Yeah, it's getting closer.
Yeah.
It's getting closer.
Okay, well, now we are going to move on to formal board action, which we have the 2023 City of Basehor Sales Tax Mail-In Ballot. So I will consider a
Madam Chair,
motion.
I move that we adjourn as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Board of County Canvassers.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
I vote aye.
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 Motion carries. We are now in canvassers.
Board of County
Board of
Canvassers.
Canvassers, and we will turn it over to Linda and Helen to see what they'd like to share with us.
So on June 8th, the city of Basehor had a mail ballot election. And on the 18th of May, we started mailing out, or we did mail out all of the ballots. And we mailed out 4,862 ballots on that day. Again, Election Day was June 8th, and we had a return of 1,752 ballots. That was a 36.3% ballot return. So there were, of course, it didn't pass. There were 845 votes yes and 906 votes no. So I guess we're here today to ask you to
Certify.
sign off on it.
Is there any discussion?
I don't have
Pretty
anything.
self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Yes, there's not going to, nobody asked for any kind of recount or anything like that, so that we're not looking, okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we certify the results of the City of Basehor mail-in ballot sales tax question.
Second.
Motion is second. Begin voting with Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay.
Take that up there.
I will.
I did have one question. How much was that? Do you know how much the total was on that election?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't know if she's figured the total of that yet.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. I will.
Oh, we all got signed.
And I'll stamp it. I didn't bring the stamp upstairs.
Just sign it anywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty costly to hold mail.
It
I
is.
mean, you got postage both ways.
That was a low turnout for me.
That is very low for a mail-in,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty low turnout for a mail-in ballot. I'm just
That was,
well over
Yeah.
to my.
we normally have 55%.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, it is what it is. That's the people that voted and they've spoken. And everyone had the opportunity to do so. But
Yep.
so
It was close.
Sure, we'll sit again.
Pretty soon, probably.
Yeah, I would think so.
Thank you.
thank you.
We got November coming
I'm
up.
ready for a
All right,
motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn as the Board of County Canvassers and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay. Now, B, we need to consider a motion to accept the recommendation as presented to list equipment on Purple Wave. Welcome back, Bill.
Yes, Commissioners, today for your consideration is to list the items here shown before you in the RBA on Purple Wave to sell on an open auction site. What we have been seeing is that we have unknown delivery time frames on a lot of our equipment, and we've been getting a better return on auction items than some of the trade-ins. But when you have an unknown delivery date of 12 to 18 months out on some of this equipment, it's sometimes best just to go ahead and auction off some of these items after you finally do receive the replacement equipment. So what we have is a grader, 4 different rollers, 2 rubber tire, 2 steel drum, a semi, and an old boom mower, one that's mounted on a pickup truck type frame. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
That's worked out pretty
Selling the
well
best
for us.
grader that the county ever owned.
It's,
I was
it's
hoping
probably the
it-
longest lasting, but
Yeah, I mean, that was a horse. That thing was unbelievable.
They don't make them that way anymore either.
No, they don't. Somebody's going to get a good machine.
Bill, it seems like that's worked out pretty well to selling equipment
we've
off
gotten
of.
really good returns
That's
on
what I
auction
thought.
items, higher than the trade-ins.
Especially this time of year, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
I'll entertain a motion for recommendation.
Well, being I fought most of this.
Yeah,
Except
Bill,
for
keep
the-
I'll
doing
make
it.
the motion. Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation as presented to list the equipment on Purple Wave.
Second.
Motion is second. Begin voting with Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Bill.
you. Okay. I don't believe we had anyone sign up for additional public comments, so we'll move on to our presentations and discussion items things. So if you have anything to share?
Yeah, I think Mike and I will be at League of Women Voters on Saturday for at I believe it's the Leavenworth Library from 10 to 11. They just asked a couple people to come down and with some other elected folks on people that's been reelected once or twice, what they think, and general questions like that. I don't think it's not supposed to be about anything about property tax or anything like that, but things can change on you quickly. That's all I have.
Well, I just want to remind people that on Friday is the Friday evening will be the dedication of the monument.
Yeah, that's right.
For the no, it's for the
That's Saturday.
lynching that occurred within our county lynchings, and that will be at the Bethlehem Church. And I think I should have had the time, but it's 6 o'clock or 6:30. So it's Bethlehem Church in the parking lot if anyone is interested. And then on Saturday is the Juneteenth celebration that begins in the afternoon, and I believe that Commissioner STIEBEN is going to be there for that event.
Yep.
And
Parade.
but
Okay,
we
I'll tell you.
will
Pass
have-
out county
and the parade,
information.
but we may have commissioners there. We won't be discussing
Yeah,
any county
I'll-
stuff. We're there
I'm
to have fun
attending. Yeah.
and to enjoy ourselves and to celebrate
Yeah.
the Juneteenth.
What time is the actual parade? Is it going to be? It
6
says
o'clock.
twilight. It's going to be
Yeah,
at
it's on
6
it's
o'clock.
on the
Okay.
agenda.
Yeah,
We're
I'm just
all right.
reminding
All right.
everyone, though, that we're just there to have fun and eat. Food trucks.
Yes,
Food trucks.
that's the main thing, to eat.
So please come and have a good time because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's all I have for
The Friday night is at 6:30.
yes,
Okay.
and I will be there. And
All
then
right.
Saturday is the Juneteenth.
Okay.
And then we have a holiday coming up, I believe, for the Juneteenth. Just to
Yes,
remind
Monday.
just to remind the public that we will be closed on Monday
Honoring that holiday.
and honoring that holiday on that is a holiday. So just a
I forgot
reminder
that.
that just a reminder that we will be closed on that day because I think people might not remember that
Yeah.
is a
They'll figure it out.
yes, but it's not much fun to show up and
Yeah.
outdoors and nobody's here, nobody's home. So there we have it.
Just have the construction continues ceremony tonight at Baser at 5 o'clock, and then the city council meeting after that.
I spoke at the Tonganoxie Community Historical Society about railroads to their history camp, and we had a great time and Got to listen to the Andrews sisters sing the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe.
That's cool.
If anybody remembers who the Andrews sisters are.
Yes.
You're the young one in the group here.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, it's history. It's history.
Jeff, do you have anything?
I had the Leavenworth City Council meeting last night, and wanted to remind everybody Easton City is having fireworks this year. They're trying to beef this show up more every year, so
That's good.
they're going to have a band and stuff for the kids to do and fireworks at dark. Then I also, as I mentioned earlier, met with Pat Proctor yesterday to try to talk about some of the issues that we've had with our representatives trying to help us with some issues at the county level, like we had discussed earlier. And I told him, I don't speak for the board, but I told him, the only problem with this veterans bill is it's going to raise the taxes on everyone else. If you could get the homestead, the state to pay for it through the homestead, I think this board would be all for it. So that's pretty much what came out of that.
As a reminder, and I don't know, and we probably need to make a decision, and I'm willing to do it, but we were invited for a Zoom meeting.
For the pilot check.
For the pilot.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, for a Zoom meeting, and
The commissioners will
I
take
think
care of
that I know that Commissioner Culbertson needs to be on that call because he has worked very closely with this group, and then I would like to, or have Commissioner Smith, since that is within the Leavenworth. So,
Yeah, sure.
whichever one of us you would like to have.
Doesn't matter to me, Chair.
And just to let everybody understand, the pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes. So the federal government pays Department of Interior facilities a check every year because they're not paying property taxes. They don't do that for Department of Defense facilities. So we're trying to get a group together to discuss with the federal government pilot checks for Department of Defense facilities, because Leavenworth County, the reason our property taxes are so high is because 35% of our tax base is exempt, biggest one being the $2.8 billion of valuation on Fort Leavenworth that pays no property tax. So a pilot check would make up for that.
And I think that it would, I will remind everyone, because this is a long time ago, that Commissioner Stieben and I actually went to Washington, D.C. to have some discussions on that very topic 4 years ago. Has it been 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And then me and Commissioner
and
Shimke
then
the year
you
before.
and Commissioner Shimke had attended and had done the same
That's the
thing.
case,
So
yeah. You want to have it, Vicki, since you got
Now,
experience.
will this also, like for all federal properties, the prison?
well, no, this is Department of Defense
I know,
that we're
but-
talking about right now. We can
Could
see.
we potentially receive
Yeah.
pilot for federal prison?
Yeah, they're different issues. There's the federal prisons, and then the Department of Defense, but the principle is the same. The $300 million new federal prison that's getting built pays zero taxes. So
Just for us, I just wanted to let people know we will be on a Zoom call, and that it's just two will be participating.
You see counties around us getting new businesses and all that, just like the announcement in Olathe yesterday. Johnson County got that Walmart meat packaging plant.
Yeah, I saw that, Doug.
That's huge.
Yeah.
650 employees, $200 and some $1 million facility.
Someday.
Keep on going.
Okay.
Well, we need more than less, that's
Well,
for sure. All right.
Why don't we go ahead and if there's no further, I'll take a motion to adjourn so that we can take
So
a quick
moved.
break and then
Second.
go back to the budget. Motion is second. Begin voting, Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right.
What's
quick
a
break.
quick break?
10?